Hello, everyone. Sorry for the technical issues. Once again, I am the Red Baron at Baroncast, and with me is Dinh at Epic Gamer. Pretty excited. We get to see your brother playing tonight.
Yeah, you get to see my brother playing. So, see how they do. They did really well last week. I was watching it from home, actually, and I was surprised on how well they did. So,
yeah, it was a pretty close series. Curse looked like they were, potentially going to run away with it.
Yeah, especially after the first game, like, oh my God, what's happening? And then game 2, game 3, I felt like they did a good job out picking and just controlling the game all the way through, so they pulled out ahead.
Well, we do have TSM. Once again, they are the Killing Spree winners, and then they are going against Convergence Gaming. Convergence, it is Phantom Lord's new team, so they're pretty new. A couple of names you'll probably recognize. Only Jaximus, he was on UNR some. PheerMe, I recognize, but I don't know if what team he was on, or if that's just a name that I recognize. But they are pretty new. We were actually talking earlier. You were kind of talking about how newer teams, you'll tend to focus on AOE kind of team comps because it does allow you to coordinate a little bit easier. You can force objectives as opposed to having to work out other map control issues. So do you think that kind of strategy might work out for Convergence, or with TSM's penchant for champs like LeBlanc and Maokai, would that be pretty difficult for them?
Oh, the whole thing I was talking about earlier is, as I was saying, if they're going to win, they should focus around an AoE comp, because as a new team, you're not going to have all that coordination that you would have built up as a team. You wouldn't be on like a point with like timers and buff controls, dragon control, etc. And especially if you're like a little bit behind, they're going to start warding deep and they're going to start invading really hard. With an AoE comp, you're very, very prone to group up all the time anyways, so when you're getting pressed really hard and they're warding in your forest and picking you off, you can group up and you can still team fight. Because you think about it this way, okay, you have a champion that ults for maybe 500 but hits 5 people versus a champion that ults for 800 and hits 1 person. You get a bunch of champions that hits R at the same time. It's an easy way to turn around a game, especially if you're a less experienced team or you feel like your team's not as good. It keeps you in the game if you have like a good synergizing team comp.
Okay. Well, do you think that we might see a Maokai ban or a LeBlanc ban? Because I would think against an AoE comp, those kind of roaming kind of map control champions would do particularly well, particularly Maokai with the anti-AoE.
The way I feel about picks and bans at this point is for Convergence, they either have a team comp they already have in mind that they've been practicing. They're not too worried about being banned out because as a newer team, the sight's not really set on them. So teams wouldn't start researching you until you start winning. For bans and picks, for TSM, they would just go, all right, these are the champions that we don't like dealing with that perform well against what we think we want to run. And everything else is just like kind of pick and ban as you go. That's more of like an advanced strategy. You kind of have a certain pool of champion that I spoke about last time that you're comfortable playing with, and around that you kind of just choose the one that you think would do well against the other team, and then you ban out the ones that you think would do well against that. Okay.
Well, right off the bat, we see a Cassiopeia ban and then an Ahri ban. Both, pretty strong casters. I see Ahri banned all the time. She does have good pick-off potential. Cassiopeia, of course, is one of the strongest AP champs in the game. While we're kind of getting into this, we kind of jumped right into this band's stage. We want to make sure everyone knows if you go to Facebook and find IGN Pro League, we'll have it up on our IGN.com/IPL, I'm sure. But if you go to Facebook and like IGN Pro League, right on that front page, we're giving away 5 $25 RP cards. So definitely check that out. That's a nice little giveaway. And then also, if you tweet at IGN Pro League, tweet this match so you can get people in here to watch this match. Then we do give away a IGN Pro League sweatshirt, a Razer mouse pad, which is this nice mouse pad that I'm using here. We'll probably show it later. And then also a Riot NASA skin. We're giving all those things away. So definitely Facebook and like IGN Pro League, and then Twitter. We look at the rest of the bans, and we do see a LeBlanc ban, and then Rammus, who's definitely really strong kind of mobility jungler, and then Sona and Shen from TSM.
I think that Rammus ban was just kind of like a what do we ban? I don't know. We already got Reggie taken care of. I probably would have banned Ziggs anyways because Reggie's been playing a lot of Ziggs, and I feel like he's gonna pick it up this game regardless, just because he's been playing him so much. He's in that comfort zone with Ziggs at this point. So I felt like that Rammus ban. I don't see TheOddOne play Rammus too much, and he's not really known for his Rammus. So leaving Rammus open would have allowed his team to potentially pick it up, Convergence to potentially pick it up, and there's no guarantee the OddOne's going to pick them up either. So.
And just as a reminder, we're actually playing on the live tournament realm, so this is the most recent patch. You know, clearly we saw the Shen ban because of just how strong he has been proving himself to be. And I would actually really like this if they're if Convergence is going to pick up Ziggs, because like you said, you know, Reginald really just enjoying the excellent poke he provides, great burst damage.
Yeah.
I like to joke with people. We had an interview with Reginald, you know, just quick over Skype, and I was asking, when Ziggs came out, I was asking him, so what do you think about Ziggs? He seems like he's really fit for your playstyle, like he's going to be really strong. And he's like, oh, I have no idea what he does or anything. I haven't checked out the patch notes or anything. And so you know, now when he's playing him all the time, I like to joke and tell people, oh, well, you know, of course I was the one who told him about Ziggs, even though, you know.
So I think it was a pretty valid strat, since Convergence does have first pick. And I think they did some research too, so they kind of know that Reggie wanted Ziggs, so they picked them up too. So I thought that was a pretty sneaky little thing that they just did. I feel like... Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say, I feel like Convergence is probably going to pick up Lee Sin. Like, when I see only Jaximus play, it feels like his best jungler, if he's jungling this game, is Lee Sin. So he's not in a rush to pick it, of course, because Maokai is picked. So you can either hide that pick or just pick it later on. It's just up to their team and what they want to reveal about their composition.
I'm kind of curious. I'm assuming that Phantom Lord is going to be playing Ziggs, but he was always kind of known as, you know, he was the guy that only played Karthus, really.
Yeah.
He didn't really do that well with other champs, and Karthus has a very unique play style. Ziggs, kind of similar to a degree, but really not at all. Like, they're just completely different champions. So I'm curious how Phantom Lord's kind of developed as a player and how, you know, he will handle a champion who has a unique play style like Ziggs.
It feels like definitely like any AP player, switching from AP to AP, as long as you get a good like 15-20 in, you can get down the skill sets pretty solidly. So I'm not too worried in him being able to perform well. It's but you gotta be careful. That Maokai is gonna be pretty deadly. Like, Maokai Rise is actually a really strong combo outside of Maokai LeBlanc. So you know, you think of it like Twist Advance, and you know, Reggie will just throw a big lightning ball and do the chain lightning, and then he's gonna stun him after or trap him. So that's just a lot of CC and a lot of damage. So Ziggs naturally doesn't have a lot of HP. He has a lot of mobility in getting away, but you can't really use your knockback to get away if you're rooted. So I'm a little worried for him.
Yeah, and you know, with the movement speed buff that Jan is giving everyone, I guess TSM, they always are kind of that aggressive counter jungling team. That might be something that we see coming into play, where they're just looking to really control the buffs. We do have Lee Sin and Rumble, so I'm actually kind of enjoying their team. The one concern that I'm having is how is Kog'Meow going to fare, but I guess they do have the range and the you know, kind of soft disables to keep people off of Kog'Meow.
I feel like overall the team comp, it looks pretty good right now. Rumble's got a lot of spacing. He can like throw down his ultimate, create like a line of space for whoever he needs to protect. Maybe like it's Cog or Ziggs, and Cog can do the same too. So that's just a lot of like AoE slow just across the field. So to get across is going to be pretty hard. So I can imagine like Rise, MF, York not wanting to go. I can see Maokai just jumping across all of it because, you know, Twist Advance isn't hindered by anything laying on the ground. He can just jump over all. So depending on how the team fight breaks out, it should be pretty interesting.
Okay. They did pick Yorick. There had been some talk that Yorick might be buffed in the future, which would be kind of interesting, particularly for, you know, people who already use him, since he already is a pretty strong laner, particularly against people who don't have a good, strong lane sustainability like Rumble, who, you know, before he can get that Hex deck, really is kind of weak the first couple of levels in the game. Do you think that, you know, York's just going to go top and try and shut out Rumble for a little bit, or do you think that maybe they'll send Rise up there, since Rise does pretty well against, you know, those kind of bruiser kind of champions?
Well, just judging from the summer spell, you can already tell that TheRainMan wants to go top, because you kind of want the teleport as furthest away from Dragon, so, you know, you can just like jump in there and do some surprise Dragon or surprise counter gank. So it's just a matter is are they going to send Rumble top? And most likely they are. So you're going to see Yorick Rumble top lane, Soraka, Cog bottom versus MF Janna. I think MF Janna is actually, I think the reason why Chaox or Chaos or Chaox picked MF was I think Soraka was their third pick, and on the next rotation he's probably thinking, oh, it's a healer. Let's get a healing debuff. So he doesn't really need to run Ignite against that team. So that puts some... You don't really need to run as many Ignites, so you can open that up for a different summoner. So you don't really see bottom lane with an Ignite. So I think that's the reason why I picked MF too.
Yeah, I mean, it also, MF goes along well with their highly mobile team. She's, you know, kind of an all-in-one team fight kind of champion. She's got the great movement speed. It could be a very aggressive game from them. And then her auto attacks, they are pretty short range. So, you know, synergizes okay with Yorick. The short range kind of makes it difficult. But we do see a very mobile team. So I would expect to see lots of aggressive play towards taking control of the map early in this game.
Like, one thing also is when Yorick makes a clone of MF, when MF gets her W up, I think that's the one that puts a makes each additional attack hit harder. I do believe, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I do believe that the clone will also stack that up too. So the clone will be doing additional damage. Like when you're thinking of like champions that synergize with Yorick, you're thinking of champions with long attack range, so you can keep on chasing down that champion and the clone won't die either. Or you want a clone that can continually apply debuffs or like silver bolts. And so like the whole synergy with like MF and Yorick isn't too bad in this case.
Yeah, I'm kind of curious about that now, actually, because I kind of just assumed that until MF dies and takes the place of the clone, that you know, her W wouldn't count because it's an ability. But I'm wondering if that's actually true, because you're right, that would be, you know, a pretty good function.
It's a passive ability, so I do believe that it's going to be stacking. So, you know, if MF hits and the clone hits, now you're going to get double the effect on the next hit. And the clone should be able to get that effect too. But I haven't tested it out. This is just on theory. That's my reasoning why I think they're using that combination.
Okay, well, yeah, we'll definitely have to see. They definitely have a nice long-range team, and the kind of concern would be for someone like Rumble, how well Janna would do against him if they're trying to engage. He does have the ultimate, which can, you know, slow the team, so it's not like completely countered by Monsoon. But once Rumble's ultimate's down, a lot of that, you know, team fight potential is kind of gone. Though Ziggs does have a lot of poke, and, you know, to go along with Soraka and Cog, they have a lot of excellent long range damage that they can go. But we will go to an ad. We'll be right back in a second with game number 1, TSM versus Convergence. Hello, everyone. Once again, this is the Red Baron at BaronCast. With me is Dinh. As I said earlier, check out Facebook for IGN Pro League, and if you follow us, then there's a little thing on the page where we're giving out 5 $25 RP cards. We are in the game TSM versus Convergence, and it's kind of interesting. Chaox just kind of tiptoeing around here. We do see Reginald coming down here to potentially come invade by these mini golems, since you know, blue side, it is pretty common for them to want to take that.
Yeah, one of the like more common things is, I think it's just been developed over the last couple of months, is it seems like bottom lane almost always take the double golem. So a lot of times purple they kind of just assume there's going to be at least 2 people there. So it's a very good potential for picking off 2 free people in that case. And right here, Rumble is actually on the... Ooh, they just missed Rumble. I felt like if they saw Rumble...
Oh, wow, Rise flashing in. They're going to pick up the kill on PheerMe right off the bat.
That was actually a really, really good pickup. Like, they burnt a lot of flash, but it's totally worth it for that first blood. And really, like, the first 2 minutes of the game is pretty passive. And by about the 3rd and 4th minute, the flash is going to be up. So they're in no immediate danger. But, of course, they do have a Lee Sin. If Lee Sin gets a good positioning off, not having that flash can actually result in a kill. So, like, a lot of times when people invade and they burn a lot of summoners and they pick up a kill, that would prompt me as the enemy jungler that just got picked off to actually gank the lanes that burnt all their summer spells. Because naturally, if you just burnt it and your team still has it, you're going to be a lot weaker and you're open to being ganked. So let's see if Lee Sin's going to take advantage of mid and bottom that both just burnt their summoner spells.
Yeah, and the thing I kind of liked about that whole engage was Chaox kind of dancing around, trying to get their attention so that his team could position themselves. I'm a little bit surprised that PheerMe wasn't able to get out of there, but we'll see. You know, Lee Sin, he did go after his blue, so he is making his way down here. He probably could get level 3, they're level 2, and get that gank off with the red buff.
Yeah, like the reason why Soraka actually died was, I think she has flash, right? So she did not see the Rise, because the Rise was on the bottom side of that crevice that leads to blue side's tower, so she did not see him, and just based off of what she sees, there's no CC, so she felt like she was in no immediate danger, so she kind of just walked back instead of flashing, so Reggie was able to just flash in and root her, and which resulted in the kill.
Now, what's your thought on the Yorick Rumble matchup? Because I know, you know, Rumble, like we said, is pretty weak early, and Yorick is just going to get off a lot of ranged harass. Do you think he's going to be able to, you know, generally be okay through these early couple of levels, or is that going to be kind of difficult for him?
What I feel like is Yorick is definitely going to win this matchup before Rumble gets the Revolver. Even after the Revolver, Rumble might be a little weak just because it's now 12%. I think before it was actually up to 20% or 15. I don't know the exact number, but it's 12% now. So even then, Yorick might still be able to win the lane, but once he gets that will, the lane should balance out. So it's just going to boil down to, is Yorick going to be able to deny Rumble enough farm that when he gets that will, he's going to be weak enough where he can continually harass him. And also, like, you got to keep in mind, Yorick, in order to heal, he's got a new creep, so the lane's going to be pushed continually. So if Lee Sin can get a good gank off, it's going to be pretty detrimental for Yorick, because, you know, like a fed Rumble is going to do a lot of damage. Really, you don't want a fed Rumble in a team fight, and it's really going to hurt top lane in that case too. So.
Well, and also with the long lane, you know, once Rumble feels comfortable in the lane and, you know, can get on you, it's kind of difficult to outrun Rumble.
Yeah, so that's just like the pros and cons of having like a Yorick up top versus a Rumble. You're going to win the earlier levels, but you're going to put yourself in danger. But you do see that early ward. I'm not sure who warded from, but I'm assuming it's either... I'm trying to look at the items and see who warded.
Yeah, I don't... It must have been Janna. I guess Janna walked up there.
I didn't catch you drop the word, but I think TSM does know that for Yorick to be effective, he's going to be continually pushing the lane. So having that early ward actually allows TheRainMan a lot of safety. He's going to allow him to continually push on Rumble and continually deny him farm and keep his farm up as well. So when Lee Sin actually goes up, he's going to be able to see that. That can be like, hey, it's a cue to go back. Oh, the ward actually just expired. So TheRainMan is in a little bit of danger because he's had that ward the entire time. So he doesn't feel too... Ooh.
Yeah, he actually saw that Q, Lee Sin kind of giving away his position there.
I felt like even if Lee Sin did go up, since he lost too much HP in the jungle, I felt like it wouldn't have been as effective anyways. But just throwing that Q because he knew Yorick was in there is actually... I, as Lee Sin, would have just waited around and just waited for Yorick to show himself because I would have assumed there's no ward, even though there potentially could have been because, you know, like Yorick hasn't gone back to base. So, like, the chance of him putting another ward there was very, very unlikely. So, once I see him again, I would have just snuck through the brush and looked for a gank then.
I was actually kind of surprised. We looked at mid a second ago, and Reginald was... I don't know, just kind of being abusive against Rumble. And, you know, Rise is definitely very strong in lane, but I kind of assumed that, you know, Ziggs would be able to use a little bit more of his range in order to, you know, keep himself safe and just kind of poke as Rise comes in. In the meantime, Maokai's coming in, and that's the slow from York. They're going to get in. There's the flash from MisterImpossible. TheOddOne is definitely going to be able to pick up this kill. There's the ultimate, but he's going to go down. So, excellent work there. And Maokai, TheOddOne, he actually is a little bit ahead of Jaximus here. You know, just juggling a little bit faster, and Jaximus hasn't really had any ganking opportunities yet.
Yeah, definitely, because every time he's tried to gank, there's just no opportunity. The one time he tried to gank Yorick, there was actually a ward there, and the expired ward actually prompted TheRainMan to just go hide in that brush, because one thing top lane likes to do is, you know, if you're not warded and your lane's totally pushed to tower, you hide in that brush so you can see the enemy coming. So that was actually that's a very, very good habit that TheRainMan's acquired.
Now, we didn't really talk about this earlier, but can you give me your thoughts on this Kog'Meow pick? Because we haven't really seen Kog in a while, and generally speaking, I mean, Soraka does pretty well in lane, but with the recent nerf to Soraka, Kog will have plenty of mana, but against a really aggressive lane like Misfortune and Janna, he might struggle, and actually Jaximus coming in is able to get that blue, but actually I think TheOddOne picked it up, and he's definitely going to go down. I'm not quite sure what he was planning on doing there.
The thing with that is Lee Sin, a lot of times, in order to get from camp to camp faster, you just queue over. So I don't think he had an idea that they're actually doing blue on the other side. So it's just very easy to just throw Q and just double tap and get over. So he knew his blue was up then. He just didn't know that they're doing it. So he just say, hey, I'm going to jump over, get there as fast as I can, and just do this really quick. And he's like, oh man, surprise. And he just got killed.
And that's really the aggressive counter jungling, kind of style of TSM. So if they're not getting wards into the river to kind of, try and prevent that, keep a better eye on the enemy team, then it might be difficult. Particularly, Soraka actually has clairvoyance. Yeah, she does have clairvoyance. So I'm actually a little bit surprised that they haven't been able to keep a little bit better track of, where the jungler is. But I guess we'll have to see. So Ryze is going to be able to get this. Oh, Ziggs! Did he steal it? He did, I believe. Yes, he did.
That was very good. That was... I'm trying to find out if they actually had a ward there where he just blindly nuked it.
They have the ward that they saw Ryze over the wall. Ryze actually chasing after Jaximus here, and they're actually going after Dragon.
So that was actually a blind Zig ult. He had no idea what HP Blue was at, but...
I looked down at the map, and there was just like this fireball going across the map screen, and I was like, what the hell? Oh, that's Ziggs.
That's Ziggs. So that was really, really good timing on Ziggs' part. He knew that it was still up because there's a ward on the other side. So when Ryze went there, prompted him that, all right, blue is almost dead. I should nuke this soon. Especially if Reggie hasn't started nuking, that means he's waiting for the last hit. So he just threw it in. So the chance of Ziggs getting it is actually very likely because his ult does a pretty big amount of damage, even at level 6. So Ryze would actually have to get 2 nukes off to match that damage. And so if he didn't time it right, the odds of Ziggs getting it was actually not too uncommon.
So now, I was kind of asking a second ago, I really like the idea of Soraka for both Ziggs and Kog. They're both very mana-hungry champions. But can you talk about Kog some and their kind of choice for him early game? Because I recognize, the range late game, how that could really help them out. But early game, I feel like, they're definitely going to be a little bit behind having Kog on their team compared with the aggression of TSM.
Yeah, Kog is definitely one of my favorite AD champions that I've probably played pretty extensively. One thing I know about Kog is he's very, very...
Maokai actually coming in on Phantom Lord, and he's going to drop really quickly. Will not have the flash, so he tries to bounce himself out of there, but he's going to go down.
Yeah, so that's one thing I was talking about. That double snare, he's going to be able... Ryze is going to be able to get off a lot of damage if that double snare goes off. He's getting knocked back by Maokai, he's getting Twisted Advanced on it, and then he's getting trapped again by Ryze after. But getting back to the Kog matchup, like Kog is one of the champions that I'd probably played pretty much when I did play AD, and so one thing I know about Kog is he's a very, very weak laner, especially paired with a Soraka. When you pair a Kog with Soraka, what you're basically saying is, we're not going to win this lane, we're just going to try and hold the lane as close to tower as possible, keep us out of danger, and just get that farm up, because Kog is actually one of the better scaling champions, but getting that farm is actually pretty hard, just because he's not as strong, especially with a Soraka. So, they didn't expect to win the lane. They just...
Oh, can Reginald get it? Flashing over the wall, trying to get in on Jaximus. In the meantime, Phantom Lord's coming up behind him, so Reginald's taking a ton of damage. He's going to be able to pick up Jaximus, but Phantom Lord able to pick up that kill with his nice little barrage there. I'm a little bit surprised. The aggressive play, it's really nice, and he did get the kill. And if he could have gotten away with that double buff, then clearly that would have been great. But I would think that because of the kind of team they would have, they'd want to play a little bit more conservative early on, particularly since they already have a lead, and just kind of roll with the lead.
Like, 2 things you can do when you already have the lead. Okay, 1, you got to play safe, secure every single buff, and just press that advantage. 2, you just start invading and you just start counter jungling really, really heavily and just puts them even more behind. The second way will win the game a lot faster. The first way is a lot safer. So, you know, like definitely he got the kill, but, you know, he gave up a kill and assist, so it's probably not worth it. And the buff went to the champion that
Ziggs,
matters the most too. So, and the spree, so...
I think it's kind of interesting, top lane, it's generally been pretty passive. Actually, Yorick has a 2-level advantage on him because Rumble has been forced out of this lane, you know, for a lot of this early phase. So they haven't really been dealing with each other because Rumble just couldn't lane against him. Maokai coming down here because he's got the timer down, so we do have Ryze as well. There's the teleport from RainMan, actually, so it is a nice 3v3. We have the Maokai twisted advance in, and wow, Rumble's going to go down really quickly. Can he get the flash over the wall? He does. But this is definitely not looking good for them. They'll probably be able to pick up this blue pretty safely now.
Yeah, definitely that's a free blue because Rumble is so low, he can't really contest it anymore. And Ziggs losing that blue doesn't matter as much because he already has one, even though it's about halfway. So, like I was saying earlier, having the Soraka Cog bottom, you're expecting to lose early. And you got to get that farm up because once you get that farm up, since you scale better, even if you're slightly behind in CS, you're going to be stronger just because you do so much more damage, just because his kit allows him for that. So you're probably going to see Cog lose for maybe another, I'd say, 5 minutes if everything else goes equal. But after that, I'd say in like maybe 10-ish more minutes, you're going to see Cog just laying out a lot more DPS, given if Convergence doesn't fall behind on their objectives.
So, you know, right now TSM, you know, clearly winning the laning phase. But if they have the opportunity to take down some of these towers and then potentially start roaming, do you think that that might be something they would go for, or try and extend the laning phase and extend that advantage? Or would they just kind of try and snowball around the map and push down towers and not allow Rumble and Cog and Ziggs an opportunity to farm?
Like, one of the things that TSM likes doing is actually been trying to do that is take down towers, because the type of composition Convergence has doesn't allow for towers to drop easily, so any tower that TSM can get for free, they want it. Earlier, I think there's 2 people up top pressing on the tower, but Ziggs just threw his ultimate on, cleared the wave, and they had to back out. But TSM actually wanted that tower. Their goal right now is actually to take down as many towers as possible. It gives them a gold advantage, which makes their champion stronger, and also opens up the enemy's jungle for them to roam in and just continually counter Sin. So if they're able to take towers at this point, they want to, or at least I would want to.
Mm-hmm. And the real hard part is, you know, as we look at the farm here, not only is, you know, I mean, all these lanes going to TSM, you know, they just have very strong laning champions. And Yorick, that's the big lane. It's Yorick versus Rumble. Rumble's definitely a little bit behind in his farm, which, you know, he could struggle in these fights since he does need a couple of items in order to kind of get going.
So you see Yorick coming down because they do have a good dragon timer. So they're grouping up. RainMan, I do believe, does have... No, teleport's down, so that's why you walk down. You know, like, one thing is, you know, it's better to have 5 people there and secure dragon than just risk a 4v5. So RainMan is already winning top lane, so it's a lot safer to just secure that dragon.
Lee Sin getting a little bit slowed from RainMan, but they are going to be able to get out of there. Ziggs trying to steal it, but TSM was able to pick it up, so they have a 6k gold advantage right now. And Reginald with the blue buff versus Ziggs, and Ziggs is, again, a pretty mana-hungry champion. Not having the blue buff because TSM has been so aggressive, you know, with that counter jungling is really going to hurt him. What do you think they might try and start doing? You know, might we see Cog and Soraka maybe leaving the bot lane some to try and secure those blues when they spawn? Or
honestly, if I am Convergence, the only thing I have to worry about is stopping Baron right now. There's no way they're going to stop any dragon. The rest of the dragon is basically belongs to TSM. What they want to do is they want to keep the tower up for as long as possible, and they just want to farm, because if Cog gets strong enough, if Zig gets strong enough, they can hold off towers indefinitely, and they can pick and choose and have a really, really good fight. And if they can choose the right fight, they can make a comeback. But if they force dragon at this point, being this far behind, not only are they going to give up dragon, but they're going to give up additional kills. So if I am Convergence, I'd make sure I'd get my farm in as Cog.
Well, Jaximus, he is coming down in this bot lane. He's going to try and shield to Xinso. Xpecial is going to get out of there with the whirlwind, though. I was going to say, you know, the Soraka with the pink ward here, to ensure that brush control, definitely helps them out since they do have a defensive lane. My next question, Wriggles and double Dorans. Like a lot of players, have been looking to do that in that bot lane. It is very strong early game. It gives you some nice stats, but the primary concern is that you're putting off a lot of your late game items. And yes, Kog probably needed, the Wriggles in order to sustain against Misfortune because it is a tough lane. But do you think not having those stronger items will affect their capabilities in these mid-game team fights, where TSM already has that advantage?
I feel like Wriggles in this case wouldn't help as much because if you look at TSM's team comp, getting that Wriggles, getting that extra armor and lifesteal wouldn't help as much just against Ryze and Maokai. It's definitely going to help a little bit against Yorick some and MF some, but if being behind, I probably would just gone straight for the big items. I think that he wanted to go those Wriggles just in case they had an opportunity for controlling Dragon, because you got to keep in mind Lee Sin does Dragon really quick. You throw in a Wriggles too, it's going to go down even faster, but at this point in the game there's no way for Convergence to take another Dragon, so
yeah, they're just going to come down here, grab this another blue. In the meantime, MF will probably be able to take that bot tower. A ton of damage going off of MisterImpossible from Ryze. Reginald doing an excellent job there. Ziggs, I guess, probably going to try and steal it, but the concern there is at level 1, I believe Ziggs' ultimate is like 150 seconds. So if he's constantly using it, and there he doesn't even get it, OddOne is able to pick that up. If he's constantly using it to try and steal those blues, they don't have that for those team fights, and it allows TSM to just be even more aggressive in that time period.
Honestly, like right at this point, I feel like Convergence does not want to fight. If they're going to group up and fight, I feel like they're just going to...
Oh, Reginald coming in, stopping the teleport. MisterImpossible probably going to go down to that Ignite, just with the health pot and the shield, actually able to sustain himself there.
I think it sounded like Soraka used her ult too. Can you check her ultimate?
Yeah, her ult is down, so she did use her ultimate as well.
She actually used it while Rumble was still ignited, and
yeah,
I think
so
that pushed her... But I think it did push Rumble enough to not die to the Ignite, though. So it could have potentially been a really, really good ulti by Soraka.
And I mean, that is one of the things that Soraka does provide them, even though it is kind of a weak bottom lane. Knowing that TSM was going to be so aggressive, moving around during the laning phase of the game, it kind of gives them a man-up advantage, though. That's really, the one kill has been the only time it's worked out for them, and it's not even getting them many kills. It's just preventing them from feeding TSM anymore.
Like, one thing I like is Phantom Lord is getting a lot of farm in against Reggie. Reggie does have a kill over him and an assist, so in terms of farm-wise, Reggie is actually ahead due to all the dragons and the kills and the tower too, but as long as Phantom Lord keeps his CS up and keeps it ahead of Reggie, when it comes down to the team fight, I feel like Ziggs is going to be doing most of the damage anyway, so it feels like if they're going to keep in the game, they're going to need Ziggs and Kog to get really big, because with those two champions, they're going to be able to hold off towers almost indefinitely, and if it's going to force TSM, if TSM gets a little antsy and goes a little aggressive in front of tower, they're going to be able to punish that. So I feel like if a turnaround's going to happen, that would be the scenario, or the best scenario.
Yeah, I mean, they do have excellent range on their team, so they've got a lot of poke. They have great wave clearing capabilities, so they can kind of stall out the game. The big thing is just that they don't allow themselves to fall so far behind the TSM that it, doesn't even matter, that TSM can just walk all over them.
So, yeah.
So how do you think those late game fights will potentially be going? If Convergence can keep this game, kind of around the same range, not fall behind anymore, do you think that they will fare pretty well in these fights, can stall them out and just, slowly wear down TSM?
I feel like as long as Convergence stops TSM
I'm not sure he's going to be able to get out of here, though. The flash from TheRainMan, going to jump over that Rumble ultimate. He's still chasing him down. He doesn't have a lot of damage, so Rumble is getting away with the shield, just barely going to survive there. But once again, not able to farm. So back to the team fights.
Basically for the team fights, right, as long as Convergence does not get picked off, or if TSM does not pull so far ahead where they can continually split push, then I feel like Convergence can just keep on poking with Cog R, keep on poking with Ziggs, bombs, and mines, and TSM wouldn't be able to press. So it could be a very, very long drawn out game. And in that case, if both teams just get so much items that the gold gap wouldn't matter. So there's a couple of ways of going about it. So I feel like with the way the game is going, you give it another 5 to 7 minutes, TSM's gonna get another dragon, they're gonna pick up Baron, and the gold advantage is gonna start getting close to like maybe 14k ish.
Yeah.
And at that point, I feel like they can just go send one man top in 4v5, and that one man can 1v2 if they choose to gank him. So
yeah,
if it
particularly that teleport on York.
yeah, if it gets to that point, you're just gonna see TSM take down the remainder of the tower and start pressing slowly. Because one thing TSM's been working on is they've been working on pressing their advantage, knowing when to play safe, and just pressing that advantage when they're ahead. And you've been seeing that all game long continually. They've taken every single dragon, they've taken every single blue buff, and you're just going to see that keep on happening. So definitely within the next 5 minutes, you're going to see a lot of towers drop, Baron drop, and another dragon drop.
TSM has been absolutely spot on with their timers. They've been at everything as it's spawning, and just that aggressive presence, particularly Maokai and then Rise. Hasn't really allowed Convergence an opportunity to defend these targets, and now they are kind of splitting up a little bit, being very aggressive, pushing all 3 lanes because of their strength currently.
So one thing you see Janna and MF heading towards mid. So what they want to do is they want to either press a tower or they want to take Baron. So a little misstep on MF there. She ran across the creep, so it kind of hinted Convergence that alright, MF and Janna is around here, so what they want to do is they want to start doing Baron. So you might see TSM go for Baron if Convergence doesn't go towards it from the
They should be able to Baron pretty safely too. I mean, they do see them, but we had Kog and Soraka were bot. Kog did just recall, but they have a pretty tanky team, and then to go along with Janna, they could sustain pretty high during this Baron and kind of force an engage. The only concern, of course, is if they do let themselves get low. Reginald is actually going to be standing right here, and Jaximus and MisterImpossible are going to run right in. The flash in from TheOddOne, and this is going to be a really easy fight for them. They're going to be chasing down only Jaximus. There's 2 kills, and now I don't think there's a question about, I guess, whether or not they're going to be pressuring Baron.
Yeah, that Baron's pretty much guaranteed at this point. And you got to keep in mind, Phantom Lord actually uses
Phantom Lord's going to go down. There he goes. Chaox going to be able to pick up the kill. Going to chase after Xinso actually a little bit, but Rise taking some poke, but just baiting in Ziggs there, able to pick up the kill.
Like, I felt like risking for Phantom Lord wasn't even necessarily there. I mean, necessary there. They definitely picked them up, but like one thing that I think TSM had forgotten was Ziggs already used his ulti to try and steal blue, so it was down. Had it been up, I think Reggie probably would have actually died.
And now they do have a Baron advantage along with that 14k advantage, exactly spot on. I think maybe a minute or 2 earlier of your, perfect prediction there. But, TSM definitely pretty strong right now. I mean, but, they do have a good stalling capable team. The Soraka mana, I haven't actually tried out Soraka or seen her in play, but I've heard that the mana now is just absolutely ridiculous and that you can, sustain your entire team.
I actually haven't. I'm not familiar with the new mana changes, but if that's the case, you're going to see just Ziggs throwing down mines and bombs all day and stopping waves. But I still feel like that's not going to stop TSM. They're just going to peel out all the exterior tower. They can have RainMan split push a lane. It's going to force maybe 1 or 2 people to come and stop him because, Rumble can't stop him because the last time he did, he almost died. So RainMan's either going to take a tower or he's going to force a 3v4 mid. And when Phantom Lord is trying to stop a wave, he can clear the creeps, but TSM is at the point where OddOne is tanky enough. Reggie has enough burst. Same with MF to just say, hey, you're going to try and nuke this wave down? I'm going to just dive on you and kill you instantly. So I feel like within the next 2 minutes, all the exterior towers is probably going to drop, and they're just going to start pressuring inhibs.
For how strong TSM has been, though, and how large their gold advantage is, Ziggs and, Kog, they are doing pretty well for themselves as far as farms. So, they will have that kind of potential in these teams. But here they're going to come down, just zone them off. And actually, this is probably, I guess, what we're going to see. They don't even have to worry about the damage from Ziggs. And there's Rise. Reginald able to pick up Xinso. Not going to be able to pick up the kill. He's going to flash out of there. But if they can just defend Chaox while he just pokes down this tower, then it will be pretty difficult. You know, they could probably have TheOddOne and TheRainMan just tank the towers if they wanted to at this point.
Like, one thing TSM really wants to do is they actually want to take top and bottom tower, but unfortunately both waves on both sides pushing away, so they kind of have to opt to just finish off mid. Had they cleared top and bottom before that, they could have transitioned bottom, transitioned top, but actually doesn't really matter. They're just so far ahead that it doesn't make a difference at this point. Yeah,
and Phantom Lord's going to go down, bursted almost immediately. Maokai twisted advance into MisterImpossible. TheOddOne going to be able to pick that kill. Actually, Chaox grabbing it. This is a free inhibitor. And now 5v3 with how strong they are. I guess they'll probably push down this Nexus and you know, they might maybe play a little bit more defensively, but I guess they're just going to go for this Nexus, and this will probably be a good game. Congratulations to TSM for game 1. Really just aggressive, you know, plays. I guess what got them this win. You saw really aggressive map control. Do you think that coming into this next game, it might be prudent for Convergence to ban out both Rise and Maokai?
I feel like Rise wasn't the problem. If you're not used to playing against Maokai, he can be a problem. Definitely that destroyed us, I think, at MLG Providence. We just didn't know how to deal against Maokai then. It's definitely, we are more experienced with it now, so banning him isn't really a must ban anymore, but it's just, they gotta play a little bit more unpredictable too, because one thing is that I've been doing personally is a lot of times people start off buffs right away because they have their team help. What I would do is, if a buff is very, very important, I know they want to counter jungle it, for a team like TSM, I would opt to not do that buff right away. I would do small camps, then come back and do the buff, you know. So throwing off jungle timers, you know, it's gonna, could actually give them a little bit of advantage. They can time it, or they can actually, if they do it standard, and they know that TSM is going to counter jungle anyways, they can have their entire team group up. Sure, TSM might take a tower, but if they're able to counter gank that counter jungle, they're going to be able to get global objectives and make up for it. So, you know, you got to be a little bit more aggressive if you're not as experienced. So
that is true. Some of the things that I have seen, you know, where we're looking at these like David and Goliath matchups, which isn't necessarily what this is. We do have some, you know, strong players here, but when we've got kind of a newer team that's trying to work out, you know, what they're trying to do, when they go for really aggressive like pick-off teams, where you have like, you know, people like TF and Nocturne, though I'm not sure that, you know, they necessarily have the same kind of role in today's game, but if you have aggressive people, you know, maybe like a Cassiopeia or something that has just great burst damage, that kind of aggressive play can work out against an experienced team like TSM, just catching them off guard.
Yeah, like definitely, like one thing I feel about like an established meta game is if you kind of know what top lane is, mid lane is, bottom like AD support bottom, AP mid, bruiser or whatever top, it feels like for newer teams, if they're gonna play the same game that other pros have been for the last year, they're gonna have a hard time. You have to be more creative. I feel like as a newer team coming in to the scene, you have to create some new tricks and pull it out and just use it. And so let's see if they can pull that out next game.
And also one thing I'm kind of curious is whether, you know, we'll see this by Convergence is we have seen, you know, M5, they were really strong with counter jungling. And one of the things, I think CLG, I saw them like scrim one time, and CLG took a game. And one of the things that they did was, knowing that M5 was going to be so aggressive going for those buffs, have your team waiting there ready to bait them in, and then, you know, try and pick off a couple of kills. So,
yeah,
you know, maybe that's something that Convergence will keep in mind. But I guess that's probably the key, is just a little bit more aggression early on. And like you said, you're not going to beat a good team like TSM just playing the standard old play.
Like one thing is I'm not sure if a lot of people are aware of, but if you start on blue, it's going to die about 710 to 720. So TSM knows that if you start on blue, they're going to head there at about 7-ish or 650. What you got to be able to do is say top lane, all right, they're going to go counter jungle blue. Make sure you bot, make sure you're healed up. You know, push your lane, go back, and then camp that brush at 645. You know, you have jungle there. You got to have your top lane there. And then mid's got to be there as soon as possible, too. So the moment that jungler comes in to face check and counter jungle you, you can just blow him up. That's one way that it's, you know, sometimes it's a hit or miss, but it's better to have a strategy than no strategy at all.
Yeah, well, once again, thank you guys for tuning in. Game 1, TSM versus Convergence. This is Killing Spree. I'm the Red Baron at Baroncast. With me is Dinh. I'm actually going to be popping off because HatPerson's going to be coming in here at HatPerson, so that should definitely be exciting. Make sure to stay tuned for Game 2. And go to Facebook. If you like IGN Pro League, then we're giving away 5 $25 RP cards, so definitely check that out. And then if you tweet the matches, try and get your friends in here to watch. Then we also give out this nice Razer mouse pad. And then we also have an IPL t-shirt, or I'm sorry, it's a sweater. So we have an IPL sweatshirt, and then Riot NASA skin as well. So Facebook and tweet, and then, you know, check us out at Baroncast on Twitter. And you probably all have already added at Epic Gamer, which is Dinh on Twitter. But thank you, sir. It was a pleasure. I forgot to mention, though, we do have the styling Dinh coming in here, and
Oh yeah,
you know, showing me up with my shirts a little bit.
I saw him with the collared shirt last time I was here. I was like, huh, is that what I'm supposed to wear? So I came with the collared shirt. I actually got a tie too. I was like, nah, I think that's over the top. Put it back.
I was actually joking with him earlier. I pulled a suitcase out from under my desk, and I was like, all right, I gotta settle things here. Let me pull out a full suit or whatever.
Oh
But,
yeah.
thank you, sir. It's a pleasure. We're going to go to ads, and when we come back, we will have at HatPerson with Dinh here. Should be a lot of fun. TSM versus Convergence, Game 2. Stay tuned.